thank you for joining us for our show all about occupations. Well, the occupations of my special guest are many and varied. He's a singer, a dancer, a marimba player, a drummer, a choreographer, and the associate producer of the Lawrence Welk Show. Please welcome Jack Imel. Hey, Jack. Well, what do you think looking back at this show from 1968?
Oh, the show we did in 68?
Yes.
Well, you know, first of all, every show I see brings back memories. That, you know, I would always try to find, you know, songs that are a little different. And I found this song called I'm the Sound Effects Man.
Well, Lawrence always loved showcasing young talent. When you were the new kid on the block, did he ever give you any coaching on your solos?
Well, you know, he hired me right on the air in 1957. And he hired me more or less as a marimba soloist and tap dancer. And in those days, we would rehearse the music for the television show at the Aragon Ballroom. So when it was my turn to rehearse with the band, Lawrence had a habit of maybe want to make some changes on the solo I was going to play that week. So he'd make these changes, and he'd say, now, Jack, why don't you work on these changes, and we'll come back to your number a little bit later in rehearsal. Well, that's fine, but where do I take a marimba and go in a corner somewhere and practice these changes he wanted without disturbing the rehearsal? So I finally decided the best place for me to practice was in the men's room. So I went to Lawrence and I says, Lawrence, when you're ready to do my number again, you know, rehearse my number, I'll be in the men's room. He said, okay. So when the band would take a break, he'd come in the men's room, see how I was doing. In fact, he would make some more changes. and anybody in the band wanted to use the men's room, he'd stop me and say, boys, you can't come in here right now. I'm rehearsing with Jack Imel. Now, I'm just glad they had two men's rooms at the Aragon Ballroom.
Now, a marimba is not the easiest instrument to take on the road.
No.
You must have had a few adventures with that.
In the beginning, I did. You know, the airlines in the early days couldn't handle the weight and the cargo space that they do now. And the marimba weighed about 200 pounds. And when you cased it up, it had 4 big cases. And so Lawrence came to me and he said, Jack, he said, we may have a little trouble taking your marimba on this first road trip. He said, because of the weight of the instrument and the cargo space. And when we'd go out on tour, we'd play about 12 towns, and they were all major cities. So he said, would you mind if we rented a marimba in each town? Well, I didn't see anything wrong with that, playing all these major cities. Things went pretty well the first 3 or 4 days, and then the promoter, Bill Daly, who was a wonderful guy, Bill and I became real good friends later on in years. But it was his job to find a marimba for me in each town. And he said, he says, tomorrow, Jack, we may have a little trouble with your marimba. He says, the only one we could find in this whole town was one that was specially made for a guy that was 6 foot 10 inches tall. And he says, if I were you, I would go over to the building tomorrow early and check this instrument out and make sure it's going to be okay for you. So I went over to the building, and the keyboard came clear up to here on me.
I can see you now.
And when I'd play it, my elbows, it looked like I was going to fly away any minute, you know. Uh-huh. But I worked at it, and finally I got it down to where I could probably get through the number for one night anyway. Now, in those days, I would play the first chorus on the marimba, and then I would jump over my marimba. And for some reason, I just hadn't thought about jumping over this thing. I had been so worried about hitting the right notes that it just didn't dawn on me that I got to jump over this thing. So now we're doing the concert. I'm playing the first chorus, and I'm about halfway through the chorus, and I'm saying to myself, oh no, I got to jump over this thing. I understand the guys in the band were placing bets whether or not I was going to make it or not. But the only thing I can say, Mary, is I was 24 years old. There were 15,000 people out there. I got Lawrence smiling at me in the corner. I got the wonderful Lawrence Welk band back of me. I'm pretty sure the Lord was on my side. The adrenaline was going, and I made it. In fact, I almost landed in the front row of the audience.
Lawrence was such a giant in the industry.
Oh, yeah, he was a superstar.
He was wonderful to his audience, whether it was on stage or in a coffee shop in the morning before he got on the bus. You had a personal experience in Milwaukee one time.
Yeah, I think it was Milwaukee. The hotel we're staying at was only 2 blocks from where we're doing the show. And usually you take a bus, you know. But it was close enough that most of the guys walked. And the show's at 8 o'clock, and I decided to go over a little early and practice. So I'm in the lobby around 6 o'clock, going over to the building, and I run into Lawrence. And Lawrence says, where are you going? I said, well, I thought I'd go over to the building and practice a little bit. He said, well, I'll walk along with you. Now remember, this is only 2 blocks we're talking about. This was the longest 2 blocks I've ever walked in my entire life. We couldn't take but 2 or 3 steps that somebody, you know, would want his autograph. But it didn't stop there. He would hold a conversation with him. Where are you from? Do you watch the show every week? How do you like this show? How do you like that show? Here's Jack Imel. Would you like his autograph? You know, it would take a couple minutes. And then if you take 3 more steps, well, hello, how are you? And the same thing again. Yeah. We got to the building. We left at 6 o'clock. We got to the stage door entrance at 7:15. And it was just 2 blocks. But what was amazing was how a man with his reputation, and he was a superstar, had that much humility. And because superstars just don't do that. Even the nice guys, the nice superstars, they're always, they're going to pull up in a limousine, probably with a police escort. Some of them even have bodyguards, but not Lawrence. He walked those 2 blocks and signed. And, you know, it was as important to him, I think, to sign autographs and talk to these people as it was to perform on the stage.
I understand.
We would play buildings. We played the Roop Arena. Adolph Roop Arena is in Kentucky. It holds 25,000 people. And we filled that place up. And we even put seats, you can put seats on the playing floor. So we could get another 3,000 or 4,000 on the floor. Now, if you have seats completely around this arena, you have the stage at one end. So back of the stage, you've got about 3,000 or 4,000 feet seats. And they would sell out. They'd sell those seats back of the band. And they were told when they bought the tickets. They said, now all you're going to see are the backs of these people's heads. They didn't care. They bought those seats just to see, because they could see us backstage. Yeah. And Lawrence would say, now, kids, make sure that those people that got bad seats, make sure you go over and talk to them and sign autographs. And but that's the way he came up, you know. It was tough for him, you know, coming off a farm, the 4th grade, you know. for him to be accepted by millions of people, he never forgot that.
Yeah.
You know, he had a desire. He told me that, if I can get this out, I get sort of emotional when I talk about him. He took a bunch of pitchforks, and he would put them in the ground in the barnyard and pretend that it was an orchestra.
Wow.
So he had a dream, and that was going to be, it was obvious that the man was going to make it.
Yeah. Quite a guy.
Yeah, you hear that old saying, they threw the mold away when they made him. Well, that certainly holds true with him.
Well, Jack, you have been married to a wonderful woman
Sure have.
for 54 years.
54 years.
Norma,
Norma?
what's the secret?
Well, I don't know. We met on a Ferris wheel, and we were in the 6th grade, and I'm not trying to make a joke out of this, but we've been going around together ever since. But we just hit it off, and she loves the work I'm in, and she loves to be around the people that are in the show. And the wives all know each other, and she's a real good friend of Kennedy, those wife in Maryland, and she loves Joanne Castle, 'cause she's so much fun, and she loves the show. She's a fan. She's the first one to sit down and watch the show. Get in here, Jack. The show's on. You're gonna miss and she's put up with a lot for me too. I mean, I used to practice to marimba 3 or 4 hours a day. It drove me nuts. And of course the neighbors nuts. But she never complained about it.